So that didn't work. I was trying to film a funny bit, haha, sitting in a suitcase in the desert. Yeah, then there were a bunch of people riding their like motorbikes across the dunes. Of course, it's like the only place we could go to actually film something is where you're able to go recreationally. And then we just decided we needed to move because there's too many of those people coming through. So then we moved the car a little bit and I got stuck. I got stuck and I had to ask one of the dirt biking families for help. And they brought their really big like dune buggy, you know? It's almost like a full-size car, but it's got like bars and anyways. Hi again. I'm back. We're doing more videos. Yep, this is the one that I promised in the last one, where I'm going to tell you how I have successfully been living out of one suitcase for the past 6 months. Disclaimer, straight at the top of the video. It's a little more than one suitcase. I'll be completely honest. It's more like, I would say two and then your carry-ons. See, I've been traveling a lot internationally and also domestically. And the reason I've been living out of a suitcase for the past 6 months is because starting on, let's see, when was that? September 20th, I think. I went on a tour. I was working for some YouTubers. You might have heard of them. Information here. Yeah, I went on tour with them and we were living out of a bus for close to 38 days. There were a few days prior to the actual bus part to where we were just like in Los Angeles living in a normal Airbnb. But yeah, I started my 6-month journey living out of a suitcase because there's just, you know, you can't have multiple. I mean, honestly, our tour manager told us we could, but I wasn't really like keen to be doing that. I was just like, I might as well just make it as minimal as possible. So at that point, I did actually start with one suitcase, one checked luggage, big. Wasn't this one? No, this one's like way big. Like, actually, let me show you. This is a big one. That's a big boy. That's why I was able to sit in it. But yeah, I did start in one suitcase at that point, specifically for the tour. And then I also had a couple of carry-on luggages. One was just my backpack, my normal backpack. And then the other was like a little duffel bag. And between my backpack and the duffel bag, I carried all of sort of like camera equipment. So if you're not the type of person that like needs a bunch of equipment or like technology for work, you might actually be living out of one suitcase for 6 months. Actually, I don't know why you're here for this video. I just thought this would be interesting, and maybe like because I've been traveling for a while, I have some tips from the road for how if you want to pack really light. Not that I actually really pack light, but you know. So yeah, that's the start of my 6-month journey. I was gonna be on tour for a month and a half, and so I knew I needed to pack really light. The truth of the matter is, though, I did accumulate stuff across the entire length of the tour, and immediately after. I was traveling for about 3 weeks afterwards, so maybe like a whole 2.5 months. I was living out of a suitcase and a half. I did end up buying another one, which held all the stuff that I accumulated along the way. But yeah, all of my core stuff, like a core set of clothes, one pair of shoes, a few t-shirts, a few tops. I tend to wear a lot of these like tank top style things. I find them really versatile because I could wear these with like a pair of slacks, or I could wear them with the sweatpants like I'm doing right now, and they can like be dressed up or dressed down. It was like a couple dresses because we're doing a show and I wanted to like look nice some nights. One bag of makeup. I think I brought all of my bras and underwear and stuff that I use regularly. It was gonna be a while and I didn't know when we would be able to do laundry and stuff, so I just planned for everything. Yeah, that's the start of it. And then immediately getting back to Japan, because I was living in Japan until December. I found out that I would be losing the job that I had gone on that tour for. And so instead of unpacking all my stuff, because I brought 2 suitcases back, one was like half filled and the other was the original that I started out with, I decided to just leave them packed and live out of those, because I knew that what was in those was already a very curated collection of my stuff that I could use to fly back to America in December, because I would not be able to get the rest of my stuff out of storage until a little bit later in the year, which actually I've just gone back from that trip, and I will have a vlog of traveling around Japan with my best friends pretty soon. But yes, so I stayed in those 2 suitcases even though I was living in my house, just because of the situation. So then of course I fly back, so that's like mid-November, so then of course I fly back to America mid-December and I start working here immediately. And yes, I'm living out of those 2 suitcases. A little bit less because I needed to bring some important stuff home so I could start working straight away, including my PC, which went into this suitcase because it's big enough to hold the entire box into it. And then 2 other suitcases held sort of like my personal effects. I didn't bring like a computer screen, I just ordered one to be here when I got back to my parents' house. And then in the 3 months following that, before I went back to Japan, which just happened, which was mid-March, I had been living out of the couple of suitcases I brought back from Japan with me. Okay, yeah, what I was trying to say here was that there was a total of 6-month period from September 15th, honestly, from when I packed, to March 22nd when I went back to Japan to finish up some stuff. But yeah, I'm stupid. Just didn't say it that way. So yeah, that is the story of how I've been living out of a couple of suitcases for the past few months. So now I guess I'll give you some tips, particularly that I learned on tour from my tour mates, about sort of packing easy, packing light, packing for like long work trips, because that's definitely something I learned a lot from those people. Shout outs to those guys, those are my family. My very first tip, and I learned this in the first week of being on tour, was all black, everything. Now that seems pretty obvious to some people. Like, you may already be the kind of person that like has a ton of black in your wardrobe, but this was something that I noticed immediately upon getting on tour. Was the people who did this for a profession, they were wearing like, it wasn't just all black everything, it was also like particular type of, you know who you are if you're watching this video, but it's like, it's the black button up with like a black sweatpants that look like cool, you know? And then the black trench, which I was a big fan of the trench coat. I was such a big fan of the way that they dressed that I went out and I bought my own coat and a couple more black pieces of clothing, including these joggers with the high waist and it's got a pinstripe down the center. You can't really see it because it's also black. That just makes sense. Like, not only is it good for the job, because if you're someone like, I wasn't the famous person who was doing the show, but I was working behind the scenes, and so it helps you kind of like blend into the background. And also it means that you can get your clothes a little bit dirty. They just last longer because of that. It means that everything matches something else and it's really easy to pair. So you can have much fewer pieces of items overall. Because I will say, I did overpack. I packed really light for myself too. I only brought 1 pair of shoes, like I mentioned, but I love wearing denim, and I just ended up never wearing the denim because I was having to roll out of sleeping on the tour bus straight to working. That schedule was very intense. Like, literally go to sleep at like 2, 3 a.m. because the show of the night before ends at like 10, and then you're like packing up till midnight, and then midnight's like getting comfortable and like hanging out with everyone post show, and you go to sleep at like 2, 3 a.m. Very often, and you got to get up by noon the following day. Usually that's usually when we're at the next venue, and you get up, you have lunch, and then call times 3. So it's literally like sleep, wake up, take care of yourself, shower, eat, work until midnight, and then, you know, party, and then sleep. So I was just never wearing any of the sort of like harder clothes to wear. So even though I love wearing jeans, I think jeans are comfy, it was just too much. So I ended up wearing things like these black sweatpants all the time. But of course, when your primary color is black, it just makes it easy to pair with everything. So that's my first tip. All black, everything, all the time. Okay, my second tip for living out of a suitcase for a really long period of time. If you are traveling, especially if you're doing anything that might be remotely like sightseeing, or like in my case, I just talked about how literally the week after I got onto tour and I saw everyone was wearing all black, I was like, oh, I want to do that. So I bought pieces of clothing, which I think if you're going away for a really long time, like let's say, I don't know, what do people do? Backpack Europe? I guess. You want to leave space in your suitcase for accumulating new stuff. Like whether that's your souvenirs, whether that is new clothes because you realize the stuff that you brought is not working for you along the way. Definitely do not overpack. It also is important because stuff equals weight in your suitcase, and you don't want to be getting overcharged constantly for bringing a really heavy suitcase, even if you're checking it. I think I actually on my way to tour had to pay like $100 because my suitcase was overweight. I actually don't remember. Don't be caught paying fees that you don't need to be paying. I mean, the other solution to that is just to have a really good travel credit card. Leave space because you're going to buy stuff when you're away for that long. You just are. My third point, and this is the thing I did do before leaving for tour, was I thought carefully about the things that I would be wearing and doing along the way that would lead to what I would need to have with me. So obviously there's some like more practical. I was going for work, and so I had sort of like a bunch of camera equipment. I had my laptop, stuff like that I knew I would already account for, and then I would need X number of days of clothes and a couple special occasion things. Like obviously I knew that sort of going into it, but you also want to think like on the level of a capsule wardrobe. And this is where the kind of thing like wearing all black everything is really important. Thinking about what outfits you like to wear regularly, and so you don't have to worry very much about putting together an outfit in the morning, especially when you're extremely busy, like on a work trip like I was. It can be really difficult to feel confident if you're not sort of putting your best foot forward, both in terms of what you're wearing and like taking care of yourself. So you look at your wardrobe very meticulously beforehand and you pick what you're gonna bring. So I did luck out in that I brought a lot of stuff that I felt good in, I felt confident in, that I knew fit me well, that I knew would be comfortable for the long run, even if I did end up changing a couple things, just like when it came to the colors I was wearing. And you need to be really honest with yourself. Like there's gonna be some really cute outfits that you have that you think, oh, I do have like a party here and there that I might want to wear this to, but like you need to be honest with yourself if that little party dress is actually comfortable and whether or not you're gonna wear it all night. But I knew which dresses I was comfortable wearing and which ones I wasn't, which ended up coming out, and I didn't need that third dress that I had brought because I just wasn't gonna wear it. And then my last tip, and this is true for a lot of travel, like recently I mentioned earlier that I just got back from another trip to Japan with my best friends. I told them not to bring so much stuff because even when it comes to like toiletries and things, you can usually buy those where you're going. Like unless you're going to the most remote parts of the world, you're gonna be able to find your shampoo. Shh. You're gonna be able to find your conditioner, you're gonna be able to find toothpaste, body wash, face wash, all of that. Straight up, you don't even need to bring that stuff. In my case, I had been traveling back and forth from Japan for a few years at this point because I'd been living there for a few years. And I knew that anytime I was back in America, I would usually actually buy stuff here to take back to Japan, just because I like things like American toothpaste better. So I already had that sort of in my mind. I was able to bring almost no toiletries starting out the tour, which was nice. And then it ended up that the touring company that I was with gave us a little bag of toiletries. Oh, actually, I'll show you guys that. Right here, shout outs to Real Good Touring for just being, they did an absolute bang up job making sure that we felt comfortable on tour, and providing us with stuff like this. This had a bunch of small travel size toiletries in it. And then, you know, I'm American, so I knew this, but I went to like 9 different Targets across all of America. Just every couple of weeks, every couple of stops, because I ended up washing my hair pretty often, not because you're supposed to. I actually have slightly curly hair. You're really not supposed to wash it that often, but because I was buying like the travel size things, because there's always, if you're traveling America, there's always a travel size section of stuff in Target. Even buying the like little refillable travel bottles, like no need, absolutely no need whatsoever, because Target exists across the entire country and you can always stop there for something, like always. I will live and die by saying Target is the GOAT. Anyways, every few stops, I was washing my hair more than needed, but I was able to pick up basically travel size everything every once in a while. And there are a couple things like body wash I bought full sizes of, but because I forgot my stuff so often at different locations, I forgot stuff at several different places across America. Like there is still a place in Austin, Texas that I'm pretty sure has a bag of my laundry that I'm, at this point, I don't even remember what's in there. Like I don't care. They can keep that, I guess, because it doesn't matter. You can buy stuff you need at your location usually. Anyways, yeah, that's it. That is how and why I lived out of a suitcase for 6 months, and my tips for packing practically for long extended work trips up to 6 months of time. Thank you very much for watching. My next video will be a little vlog of my most recent trip to Japan. So stay tuned.